David Axelrod there referring to candidate Michael Bloomberg. Back home now, and the Race Relations Commissioner is calling on the Prime Minister to show some leadership and call out Shane Jones for what's being described as racist comments. The Cabinet Minister and New Zealand First MP said Indian students have ruined academic institutions and there were too many immigrants from New Delhi. Commissioner Meng Foon says the comments are ignorant and irresponsible. Political reporter Yvette McCullough has more.
Meng Foon isn't mincing words.
This continued rhetoric of picking on minorities is hurtful, shameful, demeaning, and I'm asking Mr Jones to be kind and to stop this sort of nonsense.
He says this language has no place in New Zealand, particularly in the wake of the mosque attacks. Mr Foon says Jacinda Ardern needs to call out Mr Jones' comments for what they are: racist.
I would like the Prime Minister to come out stronger and show leadership in this area. If we don't show leadership and high integrity in office, what is the message we are sending out to the rest of New Zealanders?
Ms Ardern says she spoke to Mr Jones this morning and made it clear his language was loose and wrong, but she wouldn't go so far as to call it racist.
It's wrong. Patently, it's wrong. Whatever label you put on it, it was wrong. I've said that. I've shared that publicly. I've shared it privately. And I've also shared my view on those comments going forward.
However, Mr Jones doubled down on his comments to RNZ, saying he wants to highlight both the fraud in the education system and the exploitation of students. And his leader, Winston Peters, is backing him.
Mr Jones was mirroring the comments that Indian people have passed on to us. So they couldn't be racist in that context, can they? No, I'm talking about over a long period of time how the Indian people were concerned about what was going on in export education.
National leader Simon Bridges says Mr Jones' comments were racist and Ms Ardern's so-called stern word obviously didn't sink in.
Clearly not, because Shane Jones has doubled down on this, and that's entirely regrettable. You know, we have hundreds of thousands of Indian New Zealanders who hear these comments and they ask themselves whether they're welcome in this country. Well, they are. His comments are racist and wrong.
Ms Ardern says while she has made her views clear to Mr Jones, her powers are limited in an MMP government.
The public will also probably be very mindful that we're in an election year, and more often we're going to see these differing opinions emerge.
But Mr Foon says politicians need to do better and must stop hitting out at minorities in order to get votes.
Just because it's election year, there's not a time for abuse.
Greens co-leader James Shaw agrees. He says Mr Jones' comments are racist, cynical, and he doesn't want to give them any oxygen.
I think in an election year it's incumbent upon politicians right across the political spectrum not to use immigrants, particularly those vulnerable to exploitation, as political footballs.
Immigration Minister Ian Lees-Galloway was dancing around the issue ahead of question time. He said Mr Jones' comments were indefensible, unhelpful and didn't represent government policy, but wouldn't say if he thought they were racist.
I would say that if you're in the Indian community, you probably would feel that they were racist.
However, an hour later, he took a stronger line.
I do think they're racist, yeah.
Meng Foon says politicians need to set an example and put an end to rhetoric that divides the country and emboldens those who hold racist and xenophobic views. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Yvette McCullough.